And so what is the Bible? Well, the Bible consists of 66 books written over 1,500 years on 3 different continents by 40 authors in 3 different languages. Pretty amazing. Yet, there is one unifying message to the Bible. It's all about Jesus. It's all pointing to Jesus, God who became a man and lived and died and was resurrected. It's all about Jesus. And I'll just point you to one scripture that illustrates this, though there's others. Luke chapter 24, verses 44. This is Jesus post-resurrection. He's meeting with his disciples, and he's having a little Bible study with them. And here's what he says. He told his disciples, these are my words that I spoke to you while I was still with you, that everything written about me in the law of Moses, in the prophets, and the Psalms must be fulfilled. And so what Jesus is saying here, this threefold description here, the law of Moses, prophets, and the Psalms, was a shorthand way to refer to the entire Old Testament. In fact, if you look at the Hebrew Bible and how it's laid out, it just has these 3 main sections. It has the law of Moses, which is the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible. And then it has the prophets, which include all the prophets, major and minor, and then books like 1st and 2nd Samuel, which we would consider historical. They consider them prophets. And then it has the Psalms, or what's called the writings. And this includes the Psalms, the wisdom literature, and some other writings as well. And so Jesus is using the typical Hebrew way to talk about the Old Testament, the law of Moses, the prophets, and the Psalms, or the writings. And so what he's saying is that all of the Bible points to me. It is about me. And so when we come to the Bible, we're not just coming to truth, we are coming to a person. And because of that, we can interact with the Bible. And when we approach it to study, this is what we're doing. We're going to engage with the Bible. So again, so what's in the Bible? Well, very briefly here, it is separated into 2 main parts, the Old Testament and the New Testament, which are separated by the life of Jesus. And so the Old Testament, 39 books there. And if you open up your English table of contents, you would see that it's divided into these major sections in your English Bible. The Torah, again, the first 5 books, the prophets, major and minor prophets, the poetry, which would be Psalms and Song of Solomon and others, the wisdom literature, that's Ecclesiastes, that's Proverbs, that's the book of Job, and then historical, Kings and Chronicles, those sections of the Bible. And so the Old Testament, 39 books, and all of it is telling the story of God's people from creation, and then what's called the fall in Genesis chapter 3, and it's telling the creation of God's people up into the coming promised Messiah, which was promised in Genesis 3, verse 15, where God promises to send someone who will crush the head of the serpent. So from that point on, all of it is pointing towards Jesus. And then we come to the New Testament, which is 27 books. And when you open up the New Testament, it begins with the book of Matthew, which picks up right where the Old Testament left off in genealogy, so it's connecting the 2. And so we have 4 Gospels, which tell the story of Jesus, the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus from 4 different perspectives. And then we have the book of Acts, which chronicles the early history of the church, from the time Jesus ascended to the spread of the gospel in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. It follows the travels of Peter and then Paul for a while. And then we come to the Pauline epistles, so 13 letters that were written by Paul to a region or to a city, to a church. And so they are identified by recipient. And so the book of Romans, the book of Galatians, 1 Corinthians. Paul wrote 9 of these letters to cities or regions. And then he wrote 3, what's called pastoral letters, 2 to a man named Timothy and 1 to a man named Titus. They were his proteges, his disciples. And then he wrote 1 individual letter to a man named Philemon. And then we get to what's called the general letters. And so we have the book of Hebrews, which kind of stands on its own. We're not really sure who the author is. And then the other general letters, James, 1st, 2nd Peter, 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, and Jude, these are all identified by author. So who wrote them? And so we have the Pauline epistles, we have the general epistles, and then the Bible ends with the book of Revelation. And this comes from the Greek word, you probably heard apocalypse. It comes from apocalypso, which means to reveal. And so the book of Revelation is telling us how it's all going to end when Jesus comes back and finally ushers in the kingdom of heaven and deals with Satan, sin, and death. And so that's the basic layout of the Bible. When you come to it, roughly